Have you ever felt like maybe there's some sort of program or something that is kind of running behind the scenes that is causing you to get tripped up over and over again, that is causing you to make the same mistakes, fall into the same patterns, or even just get the same results over and over in your life? I know, looking back at my life, I've always felt like, man, there was things that I just didn't know that were kind of so hardwired into me that they would just cause me to do certain things, and I would get that same result. And it would frustrate me a lot because I would feel like, man, I don't know how to change it because I don't know what it is. And maybe you felt like that. Or here's another common one. Maybe you've wrestled with self sabotage. Man, let me just tell you, that's a real thing. Like, there can become a certain way that we're used to living, that when we're not living that way, it's like everything in our being is trying to pull us back to that direction. For many of us, man, we came out of really dark situations or really problematic upbringings and a lot of trauma, a lot of things to work through. And so here you are now, an adult. Here you are now, you got your business, you got your family, you got your ministry, you're doing things. And these little programs are still present. They're still present and they're still working, and you can kind of feel them. You can kind of see them from time to time, but you're not exactly sure what it is and how to change it. Well, today I want to share with you one that I think is running in a lot of people, is running behind the scenes in a lot of people. And it actually goes back all the way to the garden with these two characters, Cain and Abel. And let me just tell you, man, there are so many powerful, powerful principles wrapped up in just that one story. And really just the book of Genesis, man, I've been on a deep dive for the last almost going on 2 years now of Genesis, just the first couple of chapters. And there's some pretty amazing stuff in there. But let me share this one with you, okay? And this one is, this one is really just blows my mind. So God, okay, let me back it up. So Eve gives birth to her first child. And this is what she said: I have acquired a man with the help of the Lord. That was her saying. Now, Cain's name in the ancient Hebrew actually means to acquire or to possess. So keep that in mind now. The next thing she goes on, verse 2 says this: and again, she bore his brother Abel. Now, Abel was a keeper of sheep. Cain was acquired, and Abel was a keeper. Now, that's very, very important. And there's a lot more to be said on that. I just wanted to kind of bring that to your attention. One of the biggest reasons why is because if you notice what was the original sin that they fell into, she wanted to, it was pleasing to be like God. That was the temptation. She wanted to acquire wisdom to be likened unto God. That was the original temptation. And so, once again, this idea of acquiring, this idea of possessing is very, very important. And this idea of Abel being a keeper, aka a steward over everything that he was given. See, the short form answer is this: is you were never meant to acquire or possess anything. You were meant to steward everything. Let me say that again. You were never meant, as a believer, as a original intention of man, you were never meant to acquire anything. It was all to be given to you, and you were to learn how to be a steward. That was the original intention for man. And thus we see this problem with Cain and Abel. And there's a lot of problems in there, but one of the interesting things is this: if you go down just a couple more verses, and this is what I want to talk about. It says this in verse 7. This is the Lord coming to Cain after seeing Cain is in a deep state of depression and is struggling and wrestling with anger. He says this: if you do well, will you not be accepted? If you do well, will you not be accepted? Now, the interesting thing is that both of these two brothers prepared things to bring unto the Lord. One of them was accepted and one of them wasn't. Now, it'd be a totally different situation if Cain just didn't bring anything, right? He's just like, nah, man, I ain't doing that. It's all mine. Okay, fair enough, right? You're not even doing what you're doing. But this is speculative, but I would imagine that Cain felt like he was doing right. I was doing right, and you didn't accept it. Why'd you accept my brothers and you didn't accept mine? Right? This is why he became angry. Just the very verse before that, he became angry. And it's really interesting that the Lord comes to him and says this, that if you do well, in other words, if you do right, in other words, if you do what I've asked you to do, will you not be accepted? See, for a lot of us, I feel like there's issues that we're dealing with in our life and in our business, and there's areas where we just can't grow past. But are you actually doing what he said? Or are you trying to do your version of it? And then it goes to shambles. It all falls down, it crumbles. And then you're like, man, why didn't I listen? Why didn't I do it? And it's like, you get mad, you get angry, and God's like, whoa. Listen, like, I got your back, man. I want you to succeed in everything. But you got to do it the right way. You got to do it the way that I'm telling you. And, we get really wrapped up. We get really hung up on our own ideas, on our own pursuits, especially if you've been doing this thing for a long time and you're like so committed to something. It could be the hardest thing in the world to go the other direction. But if you don't, then you're going to reap everything else that comes to you by way of that. And that could be the program that is running behind the scenes that you don't see. Listen what he goes on to tell him after that. And if you do not do well, sin is crouching at your door. Its desire is contrary to you. Listen to this. But you must rule over it. Man, this is so powerful. Listen to what he's telling him. He's telling him this. Listen, he's like, look, man, this is the deal. If you do well, will it not be accepted? Yes, it will. It will. Okay. But here's the thing. If you don't do well, there's an enemy that is crouching at your door. And that desire is to destroy everything that you got. So in other words, you got this one thing over here that you're like, man, you just got to do well. And if you don't do that, you're going to invite an enemy who's going to destroy the whole entire harvest. He's going to destroy the whole entire thing if you don't. But you must rule over it. You must master over it. In other words, you must get yourself in check. You must check yourself. You must be ready to dominate and to make that ruling and that decree over those areas or those things in your life. Like, look, man, I'm going to be okay. I can do this. I'm going to do this the right way. Whatever fear or whatever thing is trying to ransom you and trying to hold you hostage from doing the thing that you know you need to do or doing it in a way that is pleasing to the Lord, because we all got our own ideas. We're like, no, this is going to be the thing. Like, this is the way it's going to happen and blah, 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 right? But if you'll be willing to give that up and go, you know what? I don't know how it's going to happen, but God's going to provide. I don't know how it's going to come to be, but I'm going to trust in what I know I need to do, and this is what I need to do in order to be pleasing unto the Lord, in order to follow his direction. You must master, you must rule over it. That is so powerful, and I believe that if you do rule over it, you will begin to see that whatever you feared, whatever you were angry about, whatever thing that you were trying to possess, trying to acquire, that thing that is wound up possessing you, those chains will actually be removed. That you'll begin to experience freedom and breakthrough and growth. And the most important, man, the blessing of God.